Good evening all to TRH, the Reconnection Hour. Apologies for slight delay. It was a couple of tech issues. I don't know what's been going wrong with StreamYard recently, but it keeps cancelling our connections to the channels. So I've hastily put this one together, a new studio link. So away we go. So TRH, the Reconnection Hour by Mr. Perfect. I'm Terry, CEO and founder of Mr. Perfect. What is Mr. Perfect? Well, we bring men together at barbecues to create communities and connection for the betterment of mental health and also to reduce isolation. So what is TRH? Well, we have a weekly show now where we chat to health professionals, our own barbecue hosts, or people doing incredible things in the world of connection, men's health and mental health as well. So I will start with something I've not mentioned before, but also a little bit of a disclaimer. Look, we're not mental health professionals tonight, but we will be discussing things that may be a little bit uncomfortable for some, hopefully nothing too gory, but just to be warning you that, yeah, we are going to discuss mental health. So be prepared. Update on the week that has been. I've had 16 days now without a beer, so that's just incredible for me. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think I've seen some good benefits to my mental health, so I'm pretty happy with it. We had our online barbecue on Sunday again. Troy filled in for me because I couldn't make it. Troy's our operations man, or my de facto COO, who is incredible at getting all our barbecues together, and he's a bit of a numbers man as well for me. He was being called Mini Terry, so he liked that. Barbecues are coming back, so physical barbecues, Mr. Perfect, they are coming back. I won't sort of officially announce it yet and all the dates, but in the background, we are waiting for a few announcements this week, obviously, and we're hopefully going to get our physical barbecues up and running. Maybe not in every location. Different states are going to have different guidelines, but in June, we suspect the bulk of them will be back. So please watch our Facebook page and the events page there for the locations where we will be holding barbecues again, which we cannot wait for. I'm going to be recording a couple of podcasts next week, so I'll let you know when they go live, which is going to be great, just for 2 other people's shows. And we've had a really good week in terms of, especially at this time anyway, the lack of, I guess, funding and money that's going around. We run Mr. Perfect very lean, to say the least. But we've got some donations this week from a business in Brisbane that basically agreed to pay for our barbecues up there, which is incredible, ongoing basis. And we also had some really big news from a corporate foundation, which we were nominated for, which we had no idea about. And we won a fairly chunky sum of money. I can't disclose yet the full kind of details of that, so I just need to sign off from the company that I'm allowed to say it. But let's put it this way, it was brilliant. It was really good. It will cover a good chunk of our sort of budget for maybe a good, quarter or half of the year, which is amazing. Another thing that happened this week, I've been in sort of discussions or getting emails from the Australian Men's Health Forum, which I've mentioned before, because they're having an event, which our guest tonight's going to talk about later. One of them was also this week. I was pleased to see an email about nominating for their Men's Health Awards, which they do every year, where you can nominate outstanding groups that are doing great things in men's health across the country. And last year, we, Mr. Perfect, were very pleased to win the New South Wales Award. And I met a guy at that event for the first time, who's our guest tonight. And ever since, he's actually come on board to be one of our hosts and a massive supporter of what we do. So, yeah, without waffling on any further, tonight we chat to Greg Millan, and I'm going to bring him in now. Good evening, Greg.
Good day, Terry. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you going?
Good.
Sorry about those little tech issues.
No, that's all right.
It's crazy. I thought I'd nailed it, but maybe not. How are you going anyway? What's happening?
I'm going well, thank you. Yeah, I'm going pretty well. Yep.
Good stuff. And I know a little bit about you, but I think on these things I learn even more about people, which is incredible. We'll go a bit deeper. So obviously you head up Men's Health Services. I don't tend to say too much about people when I intro them because I like them to talk about it. But before you talk about that and the other great work you do with the Australian Men's Health Forum, tell us a bit about you, I guess your life, as brief or as detailed as you like it, and I guess what brought you into the field of men's health.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a qualified social worker, and I've been working, in that area for over 35 years now. I think 35, 36, something like that. But somewhere along the line, I realised that a lot of the work I was doing was with men. And as a youth worker, I started out as a adolescent health youth worker in Adelaide, and worked in that area for a while, then moved back over to Sydney, worked in the sexual health area for a long time. And it was a period when men's health was actually growing and happening in Australia in 1990. We had our first national men's health conferences, and I kind of drifted into the area, I guess, more than anything else of men's health, and felt really good about early days of setting stuff up in the men's health field in Australia. The Australian Men's Health Forum, which is a peak national body for men's health, was formed 25 years ago. So I was part of that. I think I wrote the proposal to form AMHF, and I've sort of been a founding board member of that ever since. So AMHF's kind of been my life, really, on a national level. And I've also done a lot of work internationally as well, mainly with the United States, and heaps of other training work in New Zealand. I love it. Why? Yeah, I mean, now Men's Health Services is the company I've run for 20 years now, and I'm working a little bit less. I do a lot of voluntary work, a large commitment of voluntary work for AMHF, of course, but for Mr. Perfect as well, and a couple of other groups that I work with. And I'm doing less work now because as I get older, I do less paid work. But I'm still in the field, and I'm still know a lot of people Australia-wide in the field and also overseas. And it's a great sector. The men's health sector's grown from a handful of people way back then, 25 years ago, who had a lot of commitment to what we are today, which is huge. And AMHF now has government funding. After 3 years of government funding, we never had our own funding before. So the federal government funds us now, and it's allowed us to employ staff and do more work and do more great things, really. So it's an exciting area. I think I've seen men change over those times too. Like when I was a lot younger, and you'd jump in a cab and the guy would say, "What do you do for a living?" And I'd say, "I work in men's health." They go, "What's that? What's that about?" "I don't know. What's that about?" And I'd say, "Well, do you know what women's health?" "Yeah." "Oh, is there a men's health thing?" Is there? Yeah. They didn't know that. Now, if I jump in a cab with anyone under 40 and I say I work in the men's health, they go, "Oh, yeah, that's great." They know what it is. It's finally sunk in. We've got a place. We've got a sector in this country, and young men get it, and lots of young men are very different from what they were, 20, 25 years ago.
So how did you then, you mentioned about support work. How did you get into that, or why did you choose that, I guess?
To do what? Sorry?
To do support work. How did you get into that, and why did you choose to be a sort of support worker originally?
I think it's part of my role. I do a lot of things. I've done a lot of training for years too. I train up people who work with men, be it nurses, doctors, counsellors, whatever, in how to effectively engage with men. I do a whole lot of training in that area. I guess the support work, like Mr. Perfect and a couple of other organisations I'm part of, like I run a support group for men with cancer in Sydney. I guess that's what as a social worker, I'd use the word, that's my clinical work.
Yes.
So I sort of deal with people on a one-to-one or group level. And I don't do a lot of one-to-one work, but mainly group work. And that keeps my hand in, because I think it's really important, if you're working in this sector, for me, that I keep my hand in with talking to men about what's on their mind today.
Absolutely.
And what's relevant to them today. I think that's really important. So I don't I don't lose my head in the bigger picture stuff. That I spend a lot of time in the big picture stuff. But, you know, I want to know what men are thinking, you know, right now.
So what were they thinking back in 1990 then? What sort of things would you
I think they were working it out. I mean, the first Men's Health Conference way back in Melbourne was funded by the federal government, federal Labor government at the time, and funded by the health minister, who was a woman, Carmen Lawrence from West Australia, one of the best health ministers we've ever had, realised there was a problem for men and men's health. And she brought together 500 people in Melbourne for the first Men's Health Conference. And that was astounding. It really was. And then from that time on, we've had national conferences or get-togethers every 2 years from that time in different parts of Australia. But she recognised that men had a whole lot of health and well-being problems that weren't being addressed. And that's historical. Like a lot of it goes right back to women's liberation and feminism. One of the first things that happened when women became more empowered was they went, hey, our health's bad, we need to do something about their health. And people reacted to that and women's health got better. That didn't happen for men. We were kind of left behind. We weren't part of a movement of change, you know, that men aren't going to go out on the streets demonstrating for better health. Not going to happen. So we have to get there another way. We had to convince governments and funders and build our own resources too in Australia, like men's sheds and a whole range of other stuff, Mr. Perfect, men's nights, things like that, that really have now taken us to the place where a report about 10 years ago named Australia as being the leading country in the world in men's health. Great, we are. But that doesn't mean we rest on our laurels and say, yeah, we're great. We've got a whole lot of work to do, but we actually have developed in Australia more men's health initiatives than any other country in the world.
And those, I guess those issues you saw way back then, let's say even 20 years ago, are they similar now, or are they very specific to what they were then and different now? Or do you think there's been, I guess the question is, do you think there's been a massive change in the issues or the challenges, or it's just more they've come to the fore now and there's like an avalanche? You know? It's funny
you should ask that, because when that first Men's Health Conference happened in Melbourne, it was in the middle of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. So there was a lot of talk about the effect of HIV, and sexual health was big on the agenda. Mental health was on the agenda. Prostate cancer was on the agenda, and other sort of generalised diet, exercise, health, heart disease, things like that. I think we have changed. Suicide rates were a hell of a lot lower. So, yeah, we have changed overall, and we do change. It's funny that we were in an epidemic, we're now in another epidemic now, the coronavirus, which is totally different, because it's the first epidemic, or pandemic, sorry, I'm using the wrong word, pandemic we have ever lived through with social media. We didn't live through the HIV thing with social media. We got through, and Australia got through better than most countries did with that. But we're now into this brand new ball game where we've got coronavirus and we've got social media and we've got apps and we've got things to help us get through that we didn't back then. So interesting that you asked that question.
Do you think that's good? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing or both? Or
I think it's both. I think so there's a lot of talk on social media, and I spend a lot of time on social media. People can be supportive and helpful. They can also be crazy. There's a whole lot of fake news out there. There's a lot of crazy conspiracy theories about who caused this and what to do for it and what to take. And so you have to be very, very careful if you're on social media to look at who's saying what and where they're coming from before you react to it. On the good side, we can have things like the coronavirus app, which I think is very useful because it will help to identify people, and the privacy issues are minor. Facebook and Google know heaps more about me than that app is ever going to know about me. So, you know, I don't have any worries about that. I've downloaded it. I feel confident in it. And I think, you know, it's up to people to do that. It's a personal choice. If you don't want to do it, that's okay. But I think it's not a worry. When this is over, we toss it away. You can put it on and you can take it off. So it's not with you forever. But yeah, so it can be helpful to us. But I think the world's reacting to something we've never been through before. We've never seen the size of this issue of socially isolating people, and the effects of that are going to be pretty much long-term on men. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about men's mental health and all of that. And how dare they close pubs? Wow. We never thought in our lifetime in Australia they would close pubs. That's almost un-Australian. You can't do that.
They probably didn't do that during the war, right? They were probably open during the war, no doubt. And
well, yeah, they were.
I can imagine in London during the Blitz, the pubs were definitely open. So,
yeah, well, I think they were here. I didn't live through it, but I think they were here. But no, we've, so we've got a lot of serious ramifications for men. All sorts of men. 40% of men in Australia are single, over 18 years old. And that means there's nothing wrong with being single, but they may be living on their own and now having the social isolation on top of them that they can't go out. It's a really lonely place, that is. And then for other men who are married and have to spend time at home with their kids, and there's a whole impact and financial impact of men that have lost their jobs. Half of working people in Australia, the government said tonight, are on benefits. Half of the people who would normally work in Australia are now on some sort of benefit. So we need to get them back to work, and we need to get, financial security back. But all of those things are going to affect men, in a really bad way.
Yeah, because as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, which one do you tackle first? Or which one do you even address first? And I think
I know what you mean.
A whole avalanche of, well, if you've lost your job, you're naturally going to be at home more ruminating. You're worrying about providing for families. You're worrying about everything else. Do you then drink more alcohol? Do you then take more drugs? Do you then? It's just this constant. I don't know. I'm trying to think about it in a way that's. I'm really optimistic at the moment, but at the same time, we're probably not going to see the ramifications of this, which makes for a while. Let's put it that way. I'm just hopeful that the groups that are out there now and the people doing work like you're doing, and it's almost like you think we got to this point, like you said, where now there's a lot of services and things out there for men, and I've seen that and I've talked about it. The issue is they're there now, but we can't just say, here's, off you go, here's this thing, away you go, you're going to be great. There's going to have to be some real long-term planning, and I hope the kind of government come to the party, and I'm going to have my personal opinion without my Mr. Perfect hat on, support all grassroots groups more, instead of chucking a big lump of funding or whatnot at one or two of the big ones and saying, there you go, we know there's going to be a problem, away we go. Because I don't think it's going to reach the people it really needs to reach, maybe.
Yeah. One of the first things that AMHF did was we held an online meeting with service providers like yourself and other groups that work with men to find out what the impact of the shutdown's been on them. And we got a lot of useful instant information. I mean, the stuff that support men in this country, what I call the men's health sector, Mr. Perfect groups, barbecues, meeting together, things that happen in a pub, men's sheds, all of that stuff, gone. It's all gone. So there's no one-to-one thing anymore. And we're particularly worried about older men who can't use the technology, who used to go to a men's shed. Now they're saying they're really lonely and upset because they can't get to a men's shed, and they don't know how to use Zoom. So we're thinking about using the telephone to ring them up and keep in touch with them, and email and other things. So there's a whole group of of men, not necessarily older. Some men don't use computers and email, believe it or not. Men in remote locations, Aboriginal men, all over this big country of ours. So we're thinking about what's happening for them at the moment and how we can support them. So that's what we've been tied up in ever since it started. And I'll talk a bit more about that later.
No, absolutely. And it's a complex puzzle, right? So there's upsides, of course, as well, like as we're aware of. I think I said to you before we came on, I'm getting more time with my kids, and I just truly sat back and went, wow, like my wife took a photo of us playing, and I didn't really, in the moment, I'm not thinking about it. And then afterwards, she was like, they really enjoy you being around more. And even though I'm around quite a bit, she said, like, you can tell in what they're, and my son asks a lot about the virus. He doesn't really understand it, and he gets a little bit anxious. But there's definitely the upsides. But I think what we're seeing now then is if there's hurdles to, I guess, connection, it's probably a segue into what I was going to ask you next. But what do you normally in a normal world? What have you experienced or the best things that make men connect generally? Like how have you found that?
Look, when you talk about connection, most men, I believe most men that I've met over many years want to be healthy and have a good life and be happy. With our health system, with our system in Australia, our health, our welfare, our education systems, all of them are not men friendly. The National Men's Health Plan, which was put out many years ago under the Labor government, but is still in place under this current government, clearly states that we need to make all those services men friendly. It's about making services friendly for men. And with any service or any person, if they make a one-to-one connection with that person, if they're treated in a way where they're listened to, they're respected, it works. Men want to be connected. There's no such thing as like, oh, it's all men's fault, they don't want to talk to people. That's rubbish. You know that. You live Mr. Perfect. You know how many men we get together at barbecues who are just there to talk and they're okay. Men do want to connect. What we need to do is change the systems we've got in Australia, all of those systems, to be more men friendly. And that a lot of my work's been in training up workers to be more men friendly. I run lots of training programs around that. So a lot of our health services are still getting it wrong, and that's an ongoing thing that's going to happen. And AMHF's working on a number of strategies to make that better, to make training and services more available. Yep. Oh, that's it. I faded out for a minute, I think. We still okay?
Yeah, all good.
Oh, okay. I've got a frozen screen, but I'll keep talking.
Go for it. We can hear you.
Yeah. And so that's what I think. It's important that we set up the right structures, which we've been doing for a long time, to keep men connected. Yeah. Oh, we're back. Yeah, we're back. I just had a bit of a freeze there.
And in your, I guess, in the day-to-day work then you've done with men, is there frameworks that you sort of subscribe to or try and implement when you try and connect with men, or is it more of a natural, is it individual to the group you're working with or the people you're working with? How does that work for you? How do you think they respond best?
I think it's kind of, I work in a few different areas. I work in like cancer area, supporting men with cancer, and I work a lot now with older men around social support, just for men who are older. I'm involved in an organisation in Newcastle that does that. And then again with Mr. Perfect, which I think is a great concept. I think the beauty of Mr. Perfect is two things. It's really well organised by you and your team. And the second one is that it's simple. Come along and have a free barbecue and sit in the sun and have a chat. It is so simple that it works really, really well. It's one of the best examples I think we've got in the whole country of a service that, you know, provides and destigmatises the whole mental health thing, the whole, you know, stigma around that, and gives people a space to talk in. I think it's just fantastic. It's inspired me a lot to be part of Mr.
I did not pay Greg to say that.
No, he did not pay me to say that. Not at all. No, but I think it's so. I love simplicity. I love simple things that work, and Mr. Perfect's a great example of that. And I'm really happy to hear about, you know, more funding that you've got. On the whole subject of the importance of connection, if I could talk about that, the Australian Men's Health Forum was to have its national conference, for want of a better word, the National Men's Health Gathering, starting next week in Melbourne. Of course, we aren't. And we've been running those conferences for 25 years now, and we had a whole fantastic conference set up, which is just not going to happen anymore. So what we're doing instead is something that Australia's never seen before. For the month of June, we'll be running Men's Health Connected, which is an online event for the entire month of June. Every day in June, there'll be a series of meetings, if I can put it that way. It's not a conference. There'll be meetings. It'll all be online. Maybe a 2-hour meeting in the morning, 2-hour meeting in the afternoon. And it also in June in the middle, as a lot of people know, it's Men's Health Week. During Men's Health Week, we'll be shooting all of those meetings and sessions at men and boys across Australia, providing information on a whole range of topics. And we think this is amazing. We'll be bringing in international speakers from New Zealand, from the United States, and from the UK. There may be over 1,000 people involved in this for the whole month, and it's totally free. There is no charge for it. It's totally free. We have never done anything like this before. I think it's fantastic. We are all nervous about pulling it off, but we're also very, very confident with the people that we're working with to help us stage this massive event that it's going to be amazing. I know it doesn't speak to the people who can't get on there on Zoom or aren't familiar. We still have to, you know, use other techniques with them, telephones, and support people in other ways. But when you stop and think about it, the vast majority of men at the moment can get onto a Zoom meeting or a structure like that for a little while and spend a few hours on some topic that they're interested in doing. So it's a bit like watch this space. We're waiting until our platform's set up, which is days away now. We're hoping we can announce it next week. There'll be plenty of time for people to see the program. You do have to register, and you only have to register once. And as I said, there's no cost. It's all free. Once you've registered, you can get in and see the program. I know Mr. Perfect's presenting in the program and a whole lot of other agencies. So what we're doing, Men's Health Week normally has between up to 500 events happening across Australia. It's massive, where people can turn up to barbecues or events or men's health talks or whatever. None of that's going to happen this year, but we're offering something really amazing, I think, in the whole month of June for people to make men's health the focus. And what we're actually doing, and I've got to look at my cheat sheet here, we're building social resistance to social distance. We have to do the social distance. We have to stop this virus getting around. But we're saying we're building resistance to that. We want people to come online, gain some information, be able to talk to people, be able to be part of question and answer sessions, whatever. We're giving people knowledge and we're giving people hope, a large dose of hope that the men's health sector in Australia is huge and we're not going away. And for that whole month, most of the stuff's being shot at men who work with men like yourself and other people, but Men's Health Week is shot at men and boys because the sector needs to be supported, and AMHF's taking that leadership role in supporting the sector. We think at the time it really desperately needs support.
I think
and men and boys need support too. So,
well, you said Men's Health Week, it would have been huge. It would have been in all.
I know.
Yeah. So
would have been gigantic.
I just thinking about we'd probably not even planned anything huge ourselves, but it may be an idea now to think about for that week to go, to do a bit more. So
I think things are going. Yeah, go on. Things are going to come back bit by bit because we don't know what the government's going to let us do from week to week. They've now got a 3-stage plan that they're launching tomorrow. So
we had a ton of comments that were coming in as well. I always forget to look at the comments. I had a few come in. I'll just browse through a couple. Someone said, "Yep, I've noticed Terry had a haircut. That's amazing." Thank you for that. Some of the positives we talked about of the isolation, obviously, dads playing with kids in the parks and maybe being a bit more relaxed as well, due to no pressures of deadlines and some people having stress of income and bills, but in some instances, it might be great for some people's health to get outside a lot more. Also, interesting, I was going to ask you, I think this might be relevant. So you mentioned AMHF has got some government funding. But we had a comment here, which I'll bring up on the screen. I'll just read out properly. How do we get the government focused on proactive prevention-based initiatives, not just reacting to the challenges in the rearview mirror? So I'd be keen to get your thoughts.
Great question. I think the government is behind us. And a lot of this earlier work was under Mr. Rudd, who actually got National Mental Health Policy. But the current government has kept that in place. Look, I think they're getting it. They're understanding men's health, and where they're understanding it is on some key points. One about suicide prevention. They've now set up a really good committee that we're on, that we're part of AMHF, our CEO, Glenn Poole's part of that. We need to get male suicide rates down in this country because they're shockingly high, and this coronavirus is going to affect those figures. And can I share with you maybe that in March, our funding was about to run out in June. In April, they've refunded us automatically for another year. So we can continue to do the work we're doing and put on Men's Health Connected. And that was a real sign to me that the government knows we're doing a good job. And so I think they are now looking in the future. I love this person's question about, we often take rear view mirror approaches to things after something's got worse. I think the government's right on side with men's health, and I think we're going to see them be more on side with it once we get through the virus. The virus is
we've caught up now, right? Hopefully that's
we have caught up.
We're catching up. Maybe a little bit longer to go, but that's great. Gordon as well commented. It's actually our chair. Keep talking, keep connecting, keep it simple. He likes keeping it simple, and we always discuss it. And whenever I have an issue or something, I'm like ruminating over. So I like detail, as you've seen, like in the background of how Mr. Perfect organised. It's very detailed, but at the same time, I've learned a skill now that the actual output is simple. So everything else that goes on, details normally for my benefit, not for anyone else's. And actually keeping it very simple. And I had a thing last week where I noticed a mate of mine just wasn't that sort of talkative on the phone or on a call we had with a few people, and someone said the next day, "Oh, did you know this? And maybe you should give him a call." And I called him, and we just had the best chat for like 40 minutes about all the stuff. And then, we just gradually got into the more deeper stuff. And the feeling I guess I got after it, and he did as well, there was nothing hard about that. It was so simple what we talked about. And then we both brought up a couple of points that we thought we were both a little bit stressed. And next thing you know, got off the phone and I was like prepared for the weekend going, that's how simple it can be. That's how simple it can be sometimes. Yeah.
I've been a lot of things going through my mind about the isolation coronavirus. One of the things I've been trying to write about this, but it's been, I think I've got permanent writer's block. One of the things is don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Like everyone's overthinking, everyone's going, oh, what if I get it? Oh, what if I die? Or what if someone who means a lot to me dies? Or what if this goes crazy? Or what if I never work again? And for me, it in the area of looking after your mental well-being takes me back to like the very Buddhist philosophy of like live in the present moment, like now, today. Everything that's happened in the past, like yesterday, forget it because it's gone. You can't do anything about it. And with the future stuff, all anxiety comes out of the future, all depression comes out of living in the past. It's that simple. But if you live in the present moment, you're fine, you're safe, you're good. And I think a lot of anxiety, obviously at a time like this with the coronavirus, the anxiety is all about the future. Yeah. And people are going, this is changing the world. Will we ever be the same? Will it be normal? What they're doing, they get caught up in what I call overthinking. And they go to bed upset and they just go, or they have a few more drinks than they normally have, or whatever they do. And I try to get people to go, don't overthink it, just keep it simple. The world will be okay in the end, and it may be a different world, and hell, it might be a better world. Yeah. You know, it might be a much better world than we had before. There's all these sort of positive things, I think, that are going to happen because it's been put on us. We don't have it. We've got to cope with what's going on. And in Australia, we're coping really well.
Yeah.
Compared to other countries.
I think I get that impression, that's for sure. I chat to family in the UK, and even when I see like their family's messages to me, and I can sense from the message, it's not great, and they're not. They're coping, they're doing what they can, but they're struggling a little bit. So it's tricky. But the overthinking part, Shane here just commented as well on Facebook about agreed with the overthinking. Sometimes we need to trust the experts, listen and assess. And yes, it's easy to say it. I'm the biggest overthinker ever, and I don't think when I'm in deep conversations like this. So it's easier to just let go and go, this is okay. It's going to be okay. You know.
I think in Shane's comment, there's a whole lot of stuff on social media, but trust the experts, as in trust people from legitimate sources, generally of government, either in this country or other countries, because there's a whole lot of like crazy people doing conspiracy theories all over Facebook that just, we see them and I just get, oh no, not again. There's a whole group of people who believing this is the work of somebody or it's something else. It's not, so we've got to keep our head clear, I think, of all those things.
And then what do you think, I guess we talked about a little bit about the importance of connection generally, but your ideas or your suggestions about how you feel men can connect better?
Do you mean like right at the moment in the middle of this thing tonight?
I think generally. Like, because people suggest different things, right? And so, for example, it might be join a sports club. It might be take up a hobby. That's how you're going to get it. That's not great for everyone. It might be go to the pub.
No. Generally, I'll try and answer this in a bit of a strange way.
Okay.
I run a Healthy Men in the Workplace program, and I have for years. And that over time's morphed into a program that's called 10 Things Men Need to Know to Lead Healthier and Happier Lives. And the 10th thing is stay in touch with your mates. Yeah. Stay in touch with 2 or 3 good friends, because we tend to lose friends as we leave high school and we get into growing up and getting careers. Keep in touch with those friends, spend time together, ring them up, stay in touch with them. And people go, shit, I didn't think that had anything to do with health. Yeah. Everyone wants to know about diabetes and prostate cancer. No, this is really important. For your mental health, you need to stay in touch with your friends and ring them up. We've been trying to do that with friends here. And I think other people are just ringing up and saying, how you going? Or send them an email now or a message on Messenger and just say, how's things going? You know, I've been doing a lot of that. And also not enough. I'm also feeling guilty right now about a couple of people I haven't contacted, but it's really important to do that stuff and find out what's happening in their life and let them know what's happening in your life. And I think that is one of the 10 major things we need to do, apart from what we eat and drink and how much exercise we have. Yeah, they're all important. But that thing about staying in touch with your mates is paramount. You've just got to do that. That's my piece of advice, I think. Just keep in touch with people.
Love it.
You know.
What's your hope, I guess, from now on then, after this all this stuff gets out of the way? Is there anything particularly that you hope happens for men's connection?
I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the world's like on the other side of this. I'm in touch with a dear friend of mine, Jed in America, who's really like my mentor. He's older than me. He's a social worker, and he's written 17 books on men's health. He's a guru on men's health in the United States. Before this started, he was about to retire and do nothing, and now he's come back with a vengeance, going, no, this is a new world. I want to do stuff, and I want to do it globally, and we're connecting up and it's all about working with American and Australian men around mental health issues and how the coronavirus has affected them and stuff like that. So he's excited. I am. People new things are happening out of this. What I'm really excited about is that the new world's going to be not different in a bad way, but different maybe in a good way, in a really strong, solid way, where people are going to start thinking differently about the world. I think one of the effects that this has had on, if there were any people out there who didn't think climate change was a thing, Jesus, they only need to see the pictures of the Himalayan mountains. They only need to see the blue water in Venice. They only need to see Sydney with some clear skies above it to know the world can change really quickly. And some people, that's a strong message to people that they need to rethink some stuff, and that we're not beyond viruses that kill us. We're not beyond things like that. But if we change and we focus on the things that are really important, it's probably going to be a damn better world than it was before. I'm really kind of positive about the outcome of this. Yes, I'm sad that people have died. I'm really sad that people have lost their lives or their health's been damaged, and there will be a lot of people like that. That's enormously sad. But I think we're going to come through this better and stronger and with clearer ideas on what we want and what we should have. And it's a horrible learning experience, but it could be a good one, you know.
And I think I like the way you described that, and you're talking about your friend in the States. But as you're saying it, I'm thinking, how good is that he has like a renewed purpose, just him personally, because of it. That he's gone, nah, I could easily sit back and enjoy over time and everything else, but it's really galvanized him. And you just telling that story makes me go, like, here's me sometimes a couple of hours in the day when I'm not feeling that energetic and sorry for myself, and I just go, man, there's a lot of purpose that will come out of this. Purpose for him, purpose for you, purpose for me, purpose for anyone involved in men's health, mental health. That we truly need to put this at the front of our health generally, right? Probably at the very forefront of our mind. And even me, like, to joke about the beer thing, but it's just forced me on certain aspects to go, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I'm not helping myself. I'm not being as accountable to myself as I should be on my mental health either. There's a lot of things this has forced me to think about. And have even more empathy, I guess, for people who are struggling right now. So I think that's where it's going to turn when we come out of this. Like, we're keen to get our barbecues going again, make them as successful as they can be and as impactful as they can be, but still keeping it simple.
Yeah.
I think that's the plan. And I think that's leading into that, I was thinking you've obviously witnessed to all of these incredible groups out there that are doing just ridiculous things for men that sometimes goes very unnoticed, like on a grassroots level. How are you finding with your work with AMHF, and how are you finding bringing those groups together, or how do you think they can work better together for the future?
What we're doing now is supporting the sector through Men's Health Connected in June and supporting men through that. And the byproduct of that will be, we haven't named it, it will be a hub of information that AMHF is putting together in training people, in providing vital information to people that'll be formed out of that whole event in June. Yes. And that'll be ongoing. We're wanting to fund that to be an ongoing part of AMHF. It'll be the information centre for Australia for things in men's health. It'll be the one-stop shop. I hate to use these corny terms, but that's what it'll be. It'll be the one-stop shop to go, I want to know something about prostate cancer in a 40-year-old. I'll go to there and I'll find it pretty quickly and pretty simply, or I'll find someone to do this, or I'll find someone about mental health. We're becoming a kind of a hub, a knowledge hub, a skills hub in every place. We're not replacing anybody else, like other organisations like yourself and Beyond Blue, and all of those people do great work. We're just trying to make it simpler for people to access stuff and access it quickly and get to where they want to go. So that's the longer term stuff. And then honestly, I think from June on, I would think off the top of my head, and this is not me with AMHF president on, we need a year or so to see how our men are.
Yes.
We need to see how they've got through this. We need to learn some tricks from how they've got through it and things we didn't think of, because Australian men are pretty damn resilient. Yeah. And they'll start to tell us the things that got them through and the things that didn't. And we need to synthesize all of that stuff and then work with that and say, wow, this is good. This is what works. This is what didn't. We're on the other side of it now. Let's just keep going and keep building things for men so they can lead happier lives. That's what it's all about at the end. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's you certainly energized me a bit, got me thinking. So it's really good. I loved it. I loved some of those points you come out with in. So how do we find out, or how does everyone, audience viewers, find out about what you do, either the AMHF or Men's Health Services?
They can go to the website, amhf.org.au, because all the information's on our website. And Men's Health Connected is very close to being launched.
Brilliant.
In the next week or two, as soon as we can get everything up, it'll be up on our website. But just Google Men's Health, mhaf.org.au.
Love it. Absolute pleasure, Greg. I'm sure we'll be speaking more soon anyway, but thank you so much for coming on, and also for all your work that, one, you're doing generally, but two, you've always been a big, passionate supporter of us and very selfless with it. So thank you so much, Greg. You take care, and we'll chat to you soon.
Okay, all the best to you and the board.
Okay, bye-bye.
See ya.